Hello crafty friends, it's Jess from jesscrafts.com, and today I'm here with another One Sheet Wonder. This is One Sheet Wonder number 23, which means if you like One Sheet Wonders, I have 22 other designs and videos out there for you to watch, and that's in the A2 size. If you like a different size, I have Slimline and Mini Slimline, and I have ones that work with 12 by 12 paper, a bunch of other stuff for you to check out. This uses 6x6 paper. You'll use one sheet of 6x6 paper and you'll make 3 cards with no scraps, and I will be matting them on cardstock. However, I'm going to cut 2 pieces of paper so that I can mix up some of my colors. The pattern paper that I chose is pretty simplistic. I picked it because I'm going to be stamping my sentiment directly onto the pattern paper, so I want to have a very simple pattern, but it's a monochromatic blue. So both sides, even because it is double-sided, are blue, which means that if my whole card would have the same color, and I just wanted to mix it up a bit. So that's why I picked 2 sheets, and it will mean I'll make 6 cards in all. But you definitely don't need double-sided paper. You don't need to use 2 colors or anything like that. The one thing I will say about this design, though, is all of the horizontal lines are cut out of the 6x6 paper in a horizontal fashion, but that main focal panel, which is laid horizontally on the card, is cut in a vertical fashion from the paper, which means that this is a design that works better with paper that isn't directional, because if your paper has a clear top and bottom, like there's words on it in your pattern paper, this design is not going to work as planned. A lot of pattern paper doesn't have a clear top and bottom, and so this will be great, but just something I always like to point out if and when I notice and remember that my designs kind of work that way, because when you're cutting with no scraps, you got to be real careful about those things. So I will also cut out black mats today to go on all of my pattern paper pieces. It is not one of my sort of go-to colors for mats. I tend to like craft cardstock or go with a colored cardstock, but in this case it was kind of hard for me to pick a cardstock in my stash that I liked with both the blue and the orange, and I liked them because they were big, bright, bold colors because these cards will be sent to children, and so I also picked them because as I use my pattern paper pack from Sunny Studio, I find these are colors that are a little bit less popular for me to use, and I'm trying to make sure I actually use up that whole pack of paper. So I went with the black, and it really works out well too for that big bold sentiment because that's going to be black, and so they'll help tie each other in. You can also, if you're using double-sided paper, mix up some of the patterns in order to not to have to cut as many. So here you can see the overall design is these 2 horizontal strips in the back and then 2 vertical strips. I did want to mention something about this stamp set. So this is the Patricia Alvarez Kinda Cute. That's the kind of name of her company. She makes physical and digital stamps. This is her kids stamp set, and the reason that I wanted to showcase them to you is because she has stamp sets that are in both English and Spanish. As many of you know, I like to donate my cards. I encourage other people to donate their cards if that is something, that appeals to them. And on my website, I have a page which lists a whole bunch of places to donate your cards. Then I have a page of all these jokes that you can download and print to put inside your cards in case you don't know what to write inside cards that you're donating. And I have more recently added jokes in Spanish because a couple of the organizations that I donate to request cards in other languages. I chose to make some in Spanish, make some jokes in Spanish because I had people in my life who could help me to make sure that even though I don't speak Spanish, they could proofread the jokes for me. And I didn't know someone who could do that in many other languages at this point. So there are jokes in Spanish. So if you don't speak Spanish, but you still want to serve the organizations in this need that they have, then you can download those. And there are stamp sets out there like these Kinda Cute by Patricia Alvarez that will have some Spanish sentiments, and I'll link you to a couple extra of other stamps that I've seen with Spanish sentiments or dies, just so that you can see that there are those things out there. They're not necessarily, if you're primarily buying English stamps, maybe you're not seeing these as much, but increasingly they are available. My Copic Coloring is incredibly simple. And I'll talk a little bit about like my general rules that I use, and then all my marker caps will be off to the side to show you what colors. I wanted to go with a little darker of a skin tone because because the cards were in Spanish, I wanted the skin tone to be more likely to reflect somebody who would speak Spanish. And because, again, the organizations have, in communicating with them, and I'm not affiliated with any of them, but they say that they don't get as many children or people of color, like stamps aren't colored for people of color as often. And so they like to see that diversity. And so that's a big thing that I like to do in my stamping so that I can best serve the organizations that I am sending my cards to, rather than just making whatever I like, but like incorporating the things that they need as well. All right, so super simple coloring. I just pick where I'm going to put my shadow areas. Sometimes I'm just going to go, okay, all my shadows are going to be on the left of the image because there's not going to be any sunlight source in these images. I'm not going to color a scene. I love to color scenes. It's really fun, and you can see those on my Instagram if you're interested. But in these cases, I don't really need to think about that kind of thing. So I'll tend to just pick one side. But in this case, I really wanted to give the clothes some depth. Like I wanted them, like because the way the artist drew them, they're these like really big clothes. And so I wanted them to have that rounded dimension that I thought would make them kind of have a bit of a cartoony look and really go with the style of what the artist drew. So I put shadows on the left and right side of the shirt, and I'll do the same thing with the pants. I'm only going to color the little boy today for reference, but I did make 6 cards and all, so I colored 6 of the little kids in the end. I did find that the green was a good complement to the blue and orange, but I wouldn't have liked it for a matte. I think that would have been too much. If you ever struggle to know what color would go well with like 2 colors you've picked, I suggest a color wheel, either physically buying one at an art store or going online and finding a free color wheel, and you can put in like, okay, you have these 2 colors and you can ask it to make a triad, and we'll add in a 3rd color that it thinks works well, or sometimes it can show you like a complementary system instead of a triad or things like that. So those tools can be really simple and free, easy way to get your color combinations. Also, there's a lot of like color combinations out there on Pinterest and that kind of thing, but I think it's easier to use the color wheel because then you can plug in, like if you picked 2, or even if you picked 1, to know where to go from there. I'm using the B99 series, so 90 series, so 99, 97, 95. It can be kind of hard to see with my chow caps there. For the hair flicking, I do find that if you struggle with flicking in order to make the strokes of hair, it can be helpful to turn your paper. So some people really like to flick upwards and some people like to flick downwards. And therefore, if you're flicking from both directions, like I did in this instance, it can be helpful to turn your paper so that you're going with the natural flow of your hand. I like to turn my paper a lot. I try not to do it very much when I am recording so that it is not as difficult for you guys to see what I'm doing. But when you're moving the paper, you're being able to keep your hand in its natural coloring, like whatever feels most comfortable for your hand, and you're not forcing it into an uncomfortable position, which might make you hold it in a way that's a little bit more tighter or looser than you want to. It gives you more control if you stay comfortable. Just sort of a general thing there. And then I'm going to color the shoes in black to tie in the black from the large sentiment as well as the black mats. And it'll be all on A2 size card bases, which I make myself. And I did a little video on that for those who were curious. But basically you take an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, you cut it in half, and then you take each of those halves and you fold it in half. I'm going to pop these up. You can use foam tape, but if you're cheap like me, or you just like to be more environmentally friendly, or you don't have any foam tape on hand, take your scraps of cardstock. Take 2 scraps of cardstock, glue them together, and then you can cut them up into whatever little size you need and glue that to the back of any of your stamps, and it will pop them up. I like to use Barely Art glue. It sticks really well, and it has refills, which is also an eco-friendly thing, so I don't have to keep buying little tiny glue bottles. All right, that is it for my card today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment or share this video. If you'd like to see more videos about how to use your supplies, such as one-sheet wonder tutorials, please subscribe and click the bell to get notifications. I will link all the products I can in the video description and link you to my website where you can download the template for today or any of my other templates and get more information. For even more inspiration, come find me on Instagram or check out these 2 videos here at the end. Thank you so much for watching and have an amazing day. Bye.